In anime, you don't need to be a Steven Spielberg to get your idea on the big screen. You just need a laptop and a couple of hand-drawn images that catch a vibe to turn this into this. But in an industry with so many manga and light novelists getting anime adaptations of their work, sometimes anime studios make the mistake of confusing peak fiction for abysmal dogshit. And today we'll be investigating that quote-unquote abysmal dogshit by looking at the top 10 most dropped animes of all time. Now, for full transparency, while my opinions on anime will catch a couple strays from you all, the anime listed in today's rankings are not based off of my opinions. Instead, they are based on data I sourced from my anime list in April of 2025, where the top 10 most dropped animes of all time are based on animes with the highest number of users who selected dropped for the anime. We Gucci?
The IRS! Like that's not how the CMV! Like that's not how the fucking book works! Holy shit, why you alive?
Starting off in number 10, we have Death Note, with 124,321 people who dropped the show. Now, frankly, I was just surprised to see how many people have the wrong opinion about this show. It's peak cinema. Now, this anime has been around since the ripe old year of 2006, so chances are you've probably seen or heard of this show, but the TLDR is Machiavellian high school prodigy Light Yagami does a cheeky link with the apple-munching god of death, Ryuk, to unalive prisoners in the world using the power of the Death Note, a book where writing the name of the victim in will cause them to unalive from a heart attack in 60 seconds. But grippers on display, Detective L catches wind and attempts to bring justice to Kira, Light's criminal handle, in an intense game of cat and mouse, each attempting to outwit the other. Now I know what some of y'all are thinking, having looked at the previous chart up close with the data. Damn, Death Note has a lot of people who finished it. Now some of you will theorize this list will basically be a top 10 most popular anime countdown because the more people who watch an anime, the more likely people are to have dropped it. I assure you, dear viewer, that is not the case. And if you find looking at the raw dropped count for an anime is an incorrect way to go about this, if you stick around towards the end of the video, I will show you another way to calculate the most dropped anime that I think you'll probably appreciate. Alright gang, now number 9 on our list, we have our gamer representation here. Gamers, would you rather spend the rest of your life in a video game or fill out one job application? Well, apparently in Sword Art Online, they collectively chose the latter, where in the 2012 anime, our gamer main character Kirito and many others get trapped in a full-dive VR video game. Being unable to log out and in-game unaliving means unaliving IRL, they must band together to beat the game to be able to go log out, go back to their IRL life, and fill out application. Fucking idiots. Now, while over 2.7 million people saw this and thought peak cinema, a little over 134,000 saw this anime, dropped it, and decided to fill out job applications. Now, at number 8 on our list, we have Naruto. Now, being of Unk age, you may be surprised to find out that I didn't watch Naruto growing up. I actually watched it for the first time over COVID back in 2022. And while I enjoyed it, I can respectfully see why the 135,000 people decided to drop it. It's long, plagued with filler, and most of all, it's a rough watch day with how crusty the quality is. But with that said, if you are looking for a long shonen anime to watch, Naruto is a solid choice. Now, number 7 on our list, we have perhaps one of the most biggest disappointments in season 2 of anime history with this one. Now, despite actively watching anime at this time, I was blissfully unaware of the shit show that was Promised Neverland season 2. Now, season 1 was absolute gas. Without spoilers, it's a psychological horror anime where it's a bunch of kids at an orphanage where they basically have no responsibilities. They have to do occasional tests for practice, they do laundry, they play in the yard, they can play the piano, paint, whatever, basically unemployment maxing, with the goal that eventually they would get adopted. But the psychological horror aspect of it is like, what happens after you get adopted? And that's what season 1 explores, ending right at the sweet spot to segue into season 2. And this anime was just talked about non-stop when season 1 came out. It was like one of the best shows. People were claiming this would be in like the top 10 anime of all time. It was a big deal. So there was a lot of hype surrounding season 2. But season 2 of the anime takes a big fat dookie, a Cleveland steamer on season 1. Without getting too much into the weeds of it and without spoiling it, it basically boils down to cutting out like main storyline arcs, abridging places, straight up removing characters from the manga, and adding anime original content that wasn't even necessary. Which makes sense why the 138,000 people chucked this show into the trash. In number 6 on our top 10 most dropped anime of all time list, we have Black Clover, with a whopping 151,000 people dropping the show. Now there isn't anything immediately disagreeable with this anime, it's just your typical like power scaling shonen, with the caveat that, you know, it's just long. It's just straight up long. But unlike the One Piece or Bleach route of stuffing you jam-packed with so much filler you forget what show you're watching, Black Clover took the high road here. Instead of milking the franchise dry, taking every drop out of that cow's teat, it decided to put the anime on pause when they caught up to the manga. That show is so real for that, it brings a tear to my eye. But for the length and not wanting to watch a story that is half complete, I can see why all those people decided to drop the show. Now, number 5, we have Naruto Shippuden with 159,000 people dropping the show. Now, this should come at no surprise considering Naruto is already on this list, and generally, like, the follow-up series or the season 2 of anything just doesn't perform as well as season 1, and Naruto Shippuden is no exception. Now, granted, there's a lot of filler in Naruto Shippuden, but respectfully, the people that dropped it just seem to forest for the trees here. Like, it is peak, and they are missing out on it. Now, if you guessed this anime would be on the list, you know, real props for you. But coming in at number 4, we have One Piece with 200,000 people kicking this show to the curb. Considering the show has been running since 1999, it is 26 years old, and it is old enough to vote, drink, and be an unk. And chances are there's a lot of fans of One Piece that weren't even born when the show started airing. But that's to say, I don't think the show is bad. I think the people that drop the show either fall into one of these two categories. I'm no exception here. A, you did not know the episode count, started watching it, and realized what you were getting yourself into and bailed. Or B, if you're like me, you found the show, binged it over the summer, and then caught up to the airing episodes and decided to drop it because you're not gonna watch airing One Piece and just wait until the show finishes. For real. Which I hope, legitimately I hope it's by 2030 at this point. Now coming in hot! For number 3 on our list, we have Fairy Tail. Now, full disclaimer, I haven't even attempted to watch this show because I took one sniff at it, one peek on like the description, and I decided, in my expert opinion of having watched over 500 anime, that this ain't worth it, chief. I could just say like Fairy Tail just seems like a mid show. There's nothing that immediately stands out for me when I look at it. It just seems like a very safe show, very like cookie cutter shonen formula without like anything unique that stands out that makes me want to sit down and watch it. But there also isn't like anything offensive about the show that makes me want to avoid it either. Ultimately, Fairy Tail seems like a B-rate show that like sits on your like plan to watch list until you decide to drop it for good because you realize it's just not worth it. But Fairy Tail fans, if you're watching, prove me wrong in the comments otherwise. Convince me to watch what you think is peak. Or if you think it's trash, please let me know. Now coming in at number 2, this has to have made the list, and I'm sure many of you were waiting for this, we have Bleach. Now I understand the sentiment of wanting to bleach your eyes out after finishing this show. Believe me, my sclera have never been whiter after finishing an anime. I was just so like sick of the bullshit they were pulling. The dragging out of fights, the broken power scaling, just straight up random filler intermittent between like actual episodes of anime made this a pretty tough watch that you need like a freaking user guide that was expertly crafted on like some website, like the perfect list to watch, skipping all the filler. It was like a bunch of extra steps, and I see why people just don't want to do that. They would just want to sit down and watch like anime and just enjoy it. They don't want to like do all this extra work. But that being said, this anime follows the shonen power scaling trope to a T. But like a drug addict looking for his next hit of dopamine, I just had to keep watching the next episode until I finished the entire darn thing. Lastly, at number 1 on our list for the most dropped anime of all time, at a whopping 233,000 users, we have Boruto Next Generations. Now, I think this will be my most controversial take, but I actually preferred Boruto over Naruto for like a lot of like quality of life reasons. Now, I am no Naruto apologist. I thought it was a great show, I thought it was a great series, but if you take Naruto out of the picture for Boruto and just focus on Boruto himself, the generic father figure, there is like nothing wrong with the show. It's completely fine. Yes, there's filler. Yes, you can skip it. It is still within the realm of watchability. It has great modern graphics and a great universe to world build off of. I think the gripe most people have with the series isn't about Boruto himself, it's mainly about Naruto and what the author decided to do to Naruto. Because after Naruto Shippuden, he was at like the height of his life, quote unquote. He became the Hokage, the leader of his village, and he married, and like it was all happily ever after. So when the author decides to make a spin-off series for Boruto, you know, Naruto's son, you have to like see the time skip. Like, what did Naruto become? And you see him as a overworked, tired, zero free time. Even with his shadow clones, he has no free time. Just basically an overworked Japanese salaryman, which a lot of people were just turned off by. They just turned Naruto from this great hero to this weak, ununked, middle-aged salaryman. But we have to respect the author. He was being real for that, because that is what happens when you finish a job application. Like, jokes aside, the adult Naruto is like a realistic depiction of what adult life is for a Japanese man, like after college, or Japanese woman, whatever. But anyway, wrapping it up, here are the top 10 most dropped anime of all time. All right for you here to see. These are the shows the collective anime community decided to vote on and say that these are the most trash shows that deserve to be dropped. But this isn't the only way to skin this cat. Because like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I would show you another way to do this calculation. Because if we look at this in a different way, we can uncover something else. Now, first taking a look at the episode counts, obviously we see a lot of the series are long, with the exception One Piece has 0 episodes listed. That is because the show is still airing, and it's a limitation of my data set. But if you have been paying attention to the charts throughout the video, you would have noticed that a lot of these anime have high completion rates relative to the amount of users who have dropped the show. Meaning that a lot of these shows are not bad shows. They're just really good shows that happen to have high drop counts simply because they are just so gassed, so many people watch them. Obviously with the exception that is Promised Neverland Season 2, that is truly abysmal dog shit. But to give a more sciencey measurement to decide what are the most dropped anime of all time, I came up with a calculation I would like to call the drop percentage. Now the drop percentage is simply what percentage a user is likely to drop a show if they decide to watch it. So for a completed anime, the numbers would be based off of the total number of people who have dropped the show, divided by the number of people who have completed and dropped the show, and then multiply by 100 to convert it to a percentage. So for example, if 5 people have dropped Death Note and 10 people have completed it, the drop ratio would be 5 divided by 15 times 100, or 33.33%. In other words, a user would have a 33% likelihood of dropping Death Note if they decided to watch it. Now for shows currently airing like One Piece, that drop ratio would be the number of users who have dropped the show divided by the number of users who dropped the show and are currently watching it. So if we recalculate our original top 10 most dropped anime of all time displaying dropped ratio, we see an entirely different picture. Instead, we see a very minimal chance of a user dropping most of these animes, with a big old exception next to Boruto sitting at a 75% likelihood of some person watching this and deciding to drop it. So rerunning the numbers and removing animes that have less than 10,000 My Anime List users who have voted on it, I have calculated the top 10 most dropped anime of all time by drop ratio. Now, full disclaimer, there are a lot of anime I have not seen on this list, which is honestly par for the course. I did not waste myself watching shite anime, so I am out of my wheelhouse on exactly what most of these anime are about. But if you have seen these animes, please let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are on them. That would be super cool and informative. And then also for fun, here are the episode counts for these animes as well. But which calculation do you prefer? Do you prefer the raw dropped counts for users as the most dropped anime of all time? Or do you prefer to calculate it by drop ratio, where it's the likelihood a person will drop an anime if they choose to watch it? Let me know what you think the better way to calculate the most dropped anime of all time down in the comments below. But anyway, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I hope to God you do not go and try to watch some of these trash anime. Believe me, you will waste your time. You should be watching more of me.